In Greek mythology, Orpheus was a Thracian bard, legendary musician, and a prophet. When Orpheus was young, Apollo gave him a golden lyre, which he quickly mastered. This earned him the title Master of the String and Father of Song. It was said that his music was so powerful that it can even make rocks and animals dance. After his wife died, Orpheus traveled to the underworld. There, he used his music to soften the hearts of the king and the queen of the underworld, who then agreed to let him take his wife back, but with one condition, that he had to walk ahead of hers and not look back until they both reached the surface. However, overcome with anxiety, Orpheus forgot the warnings. He looked back just as he reached the surface, and his wife vanished forever. At the time of his death, Orpheus has renounced all gods except Apollo, whom he honors for the gift of the golden lyres. For this, he was torn apart into pieces by one of the gods. Only his head and the lyre were left intact. A similar scene of this event also happened during the first awakening of Orpheus in the game. Later, Orpheus' head floated down the Hypnos river, still singing mournful song of his lost wife, until he was buried on the island of Lesbos. Meanwhile, his lyre was carried to the sky by the Muses and placed among the stars. Hermes is a messenger of gods in ancient Greek mythology. He is recognized as the patron of traveler, commerce, athletic, literature, and poet. He is also associated with healing, invention, and even thief and liars. As an infant, he invented the first lyre, which he gave to Apollo as compensation for stealing his immortal cattle. In return, Apollo gifted him the Polydeuces, a hero staff adorned with wings and entwined by two serpents, now commonly used as a symbol of medicine. In some theories, mention that the lyres that Hermes gave to Apollo was the same one that Apollo later gave to Orpheus. Hermes' main role include helping travelers on their journeys and guiding the dead to the underworld. Some story also stated that he is the god of searches and those who seek things lost or stolen. This loosely reflected how Junpei returned the will to live to Chidori. Now, if you enjoyed this video so far, please consider subscribing to the channel and turn on the bell notification. On this channel, we love to explore the Persona and other Atlas series. Io, in the Greek mythology, was a priestess of Hera, who is a wife and the sister of Zeus. Eventually, Zeus fell in love with Io, and to hide his affair from his wife, covered the area with thick cloud. However, Hera suspicious of the unusual cloud and Zeus' absence from Mount Olympus, descending to investigate. There she found Zeus with the beautiful heifers. Hera knew that the heifer was Io, who Zeus was transformed. To trap him, she demanded the heifer as a gift. Zeus reluctantly gave Io to Hera, who then placed her under the watch of a giant with many eyes. Zeus then sent Hermes to rescue Io. After being freed, Io fled to Egypt, where she became known as the goddess Isis. This is also the reason why Io persona design is her chaining to the heifer-shaped seat. Castor and Polydeuces were twin half-brothers in Greek mythology. Together, they are called the Dioscuri. They share the same mother, Leda, but had different fathers. Castor was the mortal son of Thanatos, the king of Sparta. Polydeuces was the son of Zeus. Right off the bat, the fact that Polydeuces is an immortal and Castor is not foreshadowed the fate of Shinjiro, who is its user. However, the story that led to the end of Castor is a strange one to say the least. Castor and Polydeuces wanted to marry the two daughters of Lysippus. However, both women were already promised to their cousin, Lynceus and Idas. Despite this, Castor and Polydeuces kidnapped the women and took them to Sparta. This led to a family feud between the four cousins. Later, the four of them teamed up to do a cattle raid, but argue over how to divide the herds. Idas suggested that they split the cattle into two parts instead of four, with the winning pair decided by who could finish eating their meal first. But when Castor and Polydeuces agree, Idas quickly ate both his and his brother's share, winning the right to the herds. The twin allowed their cousin to take the herd, but they also swore their revenge. Fast forward, Idas and Lynceus joined the feast when they were visiting Sparta. Castor and Polydeuces then used this chance to steal their cousin cattle. Idas and Lynceus soon realized that the twins are missing and leave the party to look for them. Meanwhile, Castor and Polydeuces reached the cattle. Castor climbed up a tree to be a lookout, while Polydeuces freed the herds. Lynceus, who had exceptional vision, spotted Castor in the tree and alerted his brother. Idas then attacked Castor with a spear, killing him. However, Castor managed to warn Polydeuces before dying. Polydeuces then killed Lynceus in the fight, but as Idas was about to kill him, Zeus intervened, striking Idas with a thunderbolt. Zeus then offered Polydeuces a choice to live forever on Mount Olympus or to share his immortality with Castor. Polydeuces chose to share, and the two brothers became the brightest star in the constellation Gemini. Penthesilea is one of the Amazon queens in Greek mythology. The legend stated that Penthesilea accidentally killed one of her sisters while hunting. As an atonement, she joined the Trojan War, leading the Amazon into the battle during the 10th and the final years. Penthesilea was an exceptional warrior in some version of the story, even able to take down Achilles, who was known as being the greatest of all Greek warriors. However, Zeus revived him, and Achilles ultimately defeated her. It is said that when Achilles lifted her helmet, he was struck by her beauty and fell in love. He then agreed to return her body to the Trojans for a proper burial. However, one of the soldiers mocked Achilles for his mercy and, according to some account, even gouged out one of Penthesilea's eyes. In anger, Achilles killed the soldier. This part of the story is slightly what led up to the design of Miseru having her hair cover one of her eyes. It might also be the reason why Takeru or Miseru fathers to have the eyes patched design as well. Saint Lucia or Saint Lucy was a Roman Christian martyr who died during the Diocletian's persecution. She was a devout young woman who chose to dedicate her life to God, vowing to remain a virgin and give her wealth to the poor. This angered her pagan fiancé, who Lucia's mother has arranged for her to marry with, but eventually supported Lucia's decision and cancelled the engagement. Out of spite, her former fiancé told the authority she was a Christian. The judge then orders her to make a sacrifice to the emperor. When she refused, she was sentenced to death. However, when the guard tried to take her away, they could not move her. They used force, stabbing, and even setting her on fire, but she remained unmoved. Frustrated, her accuser gouged out her eyes and eventually killed her by stabbing her in the throat. Despite this, Lucia continued to speak and was said to have received new heavenly eyes as a reward for her faith. She is now venerated as a martyr and the patron saint of the blind in Catholic and Orthodox traditions. This story of course fits well with Fuga, who is the eyes of the group, as she is able to scan enemy weakness and navigate the team through Thanatos. In Greek and Roman mythology, Palladion was a sacred statue made by the goddess Athena to honor her friend Pallas, whom she accidentally killed during a sparring match. It was believed to protect any city that it resides in. The statue came to Troy when Aeolus, the city founders, prayed to Zeus for a sign to show him where to build the city. In response, the Palladians fell from the sky. During the Trojan War, the Palladion was stolen by the Greeks. Without the Palladians to protect it, Troy became vulnerable to the famous Trojan horse attack. Interestingly, the theme of the Palladians protecting mirrored that of Psyche's relationship with the protagonist. Additionally, the timing of the event and the way the story unfolds also strangely align with Psyche's absence from the group and Ikisuki betrayal. Nemesis is the personification of divine justice and retribution in Greek mythology, punishing those who succumb to hubris and commit wrongdoing. However, it is also good to note that the word Nemesis originally meant the distributor of fortune, which means it is not about good nor bad, but simply in due proportion to each according to what was deserved. In one of the stories, Nemesis, the goddess of retribution, punished Narcissus for his vanity. After he cruelly rejected the nymph's echo, Nemesis led him to the pool. There, Narcissus saw his own reflection, fell in love with it, and eventually wasted away, unable to leave the image. It is said that eventually he turned into a gold and white flower. That said, the design of Nemesis in Persona 3 reflected the shape of the spearhead, which is the weapon that killed Castor. Additionally, Ken Theurgy is literally him throwing the spear at the target. Cerberus, also called the Hound of Hades, is a multi-headed dog in Greek mythology. He guarded the gates of the underworld to stop the dead from escaping and the living from entering without permission. This is of course a mirror image of Koromaru guarding the shrine of his original master. Cerberus' most famous story is about his capture by Hermes, who is also known as Hercules. In the story, Hercules was ordered to capture Cerberus, the three-headed guard dog of the underworld, as the punishment for committing murders. Hades, the king of underworld, agreed to let Heracles take Cerberus if he could defeat the beast without using any weapons. Heracles then succeeded, capturing Cerberus by using only his lion skin cloak as a shield. He then brought Cerberus back to complete his task, was pardoned for his crime, and was granted immortality. Afterwards, Heracles returned Cerberus to the underworld. Psyche is the Greek goddess of the soul. This is extremely fitting to her user Metis, who is technically the soul of Isis. Psyche, who was born a mortal, was said to be so beautiful that some compared her to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Others even mistook her for the goddess herself. As a result, Aphrodite's temple were ignored. This made the goddess angry. She was furious that the mortal was being worshipped more than her. To punish Psyche, Aphrodite called on her son, Eros, who also known as the Cupid. She ordered him to make Psyche fall in love with the terrible monster. Eros, with his magic arrow, obeyed. He went to Psyche while she was asleep and touched her with one of his arrows. But something unexpected happened. Eros accidentally pricked himself with the arrow and he fell in love with Psyche. Later on, Eros asked Zeus to pledge for their love. Zeus agreed to help, but only if Eros promised to assist him in the future when a beautiful maiden caught his eye. Eros then accepted the deal, and Zeus called an assembly of the gods, sending Hermes to gather them. During the meeting, Zeus warned Aphrodite not to harm Psyche again. He then gives Psyche ambrosia, the drink of the god, granting her immortality. Thanatos is the personification and god of death and mortality in Greek mythology. Despite his major role in Persona 3, he did not play a major part in the mythology and rarely appeared in any story, as he was mostly displaced by Hades, the god of the underworld. What's interesting here is that Thanatos is the harbinger of peaceful death, while another being called the Keres were responsible for violent death. In later tradition, Thanatos is sometimes depicted as an angel of death who guides the soul to the afterlife. This aligns with his role in Persona 3, where he acts as a guide for the protagonist, symbolizing the peaceful acceptance of one's mortality. In Greek mythology, Medea is a sorceress and the daughter of the king of Colchis. In the story, she falls in love with Jason, who arrived in search for the Golden Fleece. She then assisted him in completing several dangerous tasks assigned to Jason by her fathers, who promised him the Golden Fleece. Her ram-like face design likely comes from the next part of the story. After Jason returned with Medea, Peleus, who had tasked Jason with retrieving the Golden Fleece, refused to give up the throne as promised. To punish him, Medea came up with a trick. She demonstrated to Peleus' daughters how to make an old ram young again by cutting it into pieces, placing them in a pot, and adding magical herbs. After stirring, a young lamb leapt out of the pot. The daughters, eager to restore their father's youth, then tried the same method on him. They cut him up and placed the pieces in the pot, but Peleus never come back to life. Hypnos is a god and personification of sleep in Greek mythology. It is because of this that some said he owned half of human life. He is the son of Nyx, the goddess of the night, and is the twin brother of Thanatos. In fact, many characters from today's list, such as Moros and Nemesis, are an offspring of Nyx and depend on the story of Cerberus. It is believed that Hypnos and his twin brother Thanatos live in a big cave in the underworld where the night and day meet and no light nor sound could enter. In the story, Hypnos helped the Greeks win the Trojan War against the city of Troy by working together with Hera, Zeus' wife and sister, if you did not remember. While Hera distracted Zeus with her beauty, Hypnos then put him to sleep. With Zeus absent, the war turned in Hera and the Greek favors. In return, Hypnos was rewarded with a marriage with the goddess who he is deeply in love with. Moros is the personification and god of doom in Greek mythology. He is a shapeless spirit responsible for revealing the day of a person's impending death. Due to this role, he is also associated with despair, as those who learn of their fate often fall into deep sadness and anguish. It is said that the Titan Prometheus suggests that he gave humanity the spirit Orpheus, the personification of hope, to help them cope with the inevitabilities of Moros, the embodiments of doom. In one of the writings by Achilles, an ancient Greek tragedian, he talked about Moros and the unavoidable ends. There he wrote, "A man dies not for the many wounds that pierces his breast, unless it be that life and keep pace with death, nor by sitting on his heart at homes, doth he the more escape his appointed doom." This probably means that physical wound alone do not cause death, unless it is already one destined time to die, and that staying safe at home doesn't help someone avoid their fate.